Hello. I hope everybody is having a good reInvent. And lot of announcements. There was a big keynote today morning. And today, we're going to talk about how it's about security. Like, I'm sure all of you care about security in the cloud. So we're going to talk about how Teradata uses Cisco Multicloud Defense to secure hundreds of their workloads in AWS. So I'm Vishal. I'm part of Cisco. I'm the Vice President for Cisco Multicloud Defense. And with me is Stacy Lanier. He's Director of Cloud for Teradata. So we will do the presentation, and in the end, take the questions. I hope that's OK. So we are going to cover things like, as we talk about enterprises like yours going to the cloud, all of you probably want zero trust. So why doing zero trust in the cloud is hard? Just talk about some of the challenges we have heard from customers, from partners. And then we talk about how Cisco makes it easier to do zero trust as you are going in your cloud journey. And then we'll talk about how Teradata leverages Cisco and AWS to achieve their goals to do security in a very agile fashion in the cloud. And then let's have a discussion, have Q&A. So yeah, just to start off, we heard from a lot of you that enterprises are in the cloud journey. The customers few years back were like starting a single VPC. We see them going to multiple VPCs, multiple accounts, multiple regions, and then even multiple clouds. So a lot of the enterprises are in their hybrid multi-cloud journey. And as you can see here, the connectivity is ubiquitous. The workloads talk within a cloud. They talk across cloud. They talk to on-prem to cloud. In that environment, the perimeter is dynamic, right? So in that environment, how do you do zero trust? So in some things we have heard from customers, and we have faced as well, is that the challenges you face for doing zero trust security in the cloud is that the cloud is very different than your on-prem networks, right? So I know everybody says the cloud is a dynamic environment. I know it's a bit cliched, but just to say what it means that in a cloud, that applications are dynamic. They are scaling up, they are failing over, they're moving across regions, they're moving across cloud even. And it's not just the applications, even the whole infrastructure is dynamic. You can spin up VPCs, spin up accounts fast, and also the perimeter it supports is also very dynamic. So in that environment, how do you do zero trust? How do you secure your applications from internet to applications, application to applications, and application to the internet? They call it ingress, egress, and east-west traffic, right? So also, the cloud, the way you identify your applications in the cloud is not same as a data center. A data center is a very static environment, so you can use your IP addresses to identify your applications. In the cloud, for example, what's an IP address of an RDS? What's an IP address of a Lambda function? So you need a different way to identify those applications. And then also, you need to be able to understand, to map that dynamic world of cloud to the on-prem world if you're hybrid multi-cloud. Also, all the clouds may not be same, so you need a way to consistently have security if your applications are across multiple clouds. Also, we heard from customers that in the cloud, they want all the agility. You don't want to be static and slow in the cloud because then you lose all your advantages. So you want security to be moving at the speed of the cloud. And if you take things like your appliances for doing your firewalling and things like zero trust for doing things like those in your on-prem network to the cloud, it creates challenges. And the main thing is that those solutions are not cloud native. They are just stuck in the cloud. They cannot see the workloads. They don't understand the cloud tags, the cloud dynamism. They don't understand the cloud networking. So it pretty much, I would say, they don't work in the cloud. Beyond challenging, they don't work in the cloud. And they actually make you not fully secure. So in terms of what we heard from a lot of the customers about how do you secure your cloud environments, how do you do zero trust? So as I said, everything underneath is dynamic. Just to say, it's dynamic, it's not chaotic. Dynamic, and by that I mean that if you have a policy, policy should drive everything. If you have a policy, then all the things can be easily taken care of. And by policy, I mean the policy should drive everything. And by everything, I mean everything across your workloads, your VPCs, your accounts, or even across cloud. So by policy, we mean three core things. One is like networking and connectivity. How do you connect those applications across your environment? Second thing is handful of security services on how do you do beyond connectivity. How do you make sure who talks to whom, what they talk to, look at the content, look at the filtering, look at the threats, things like those. So you need to do all that, again, through a policy. And the last thing is the policy should also dictate your availability and resiliency for your security infrastructure. Things like how do you scale, how do you do high availability, all that thing should come from the policy. So if you do that, then a lot of the things will become easier because policy is the only constant in this environment. Rest all things are changing. But if you have a policy which drives all these things, then you can get right zero trust for your cloud workloads. And again, the policy is great, but you need a way to map that policy to the right applications. Now, if you use, as I said earlier, in the cloud, the applications are dynamic. You cannot use things like IP addresses to identify them, because if the applications scale, if they fail over, the policy breaks. So you need a better way to map those policy to the applications, and that's why I said you need a new way to identify the applications using the cloud tags, using things like services, concept of that. So that's why I said policy should drive everything, networking, security services, and the resiliency of the infrastructure, and the policy should map to the right applications using the new way to identify the workloads. That's pretty much as we see as the right way to do zero trust. And then we talk about our solution, which we built at Cisco. It's designed for this dynamic environment, and it's called Cisco Multicloud Defense. The key is cloud-native policy and the cloud-native infrastructure. So a single policy per application. It's not appliances. Appliances don't work, as I said. Appliances, if you put them at tens, hundreds, how do you put a policy around those? What you care about is policy per application, and it consumes tags, the cloud tags, as a first-class object to give you automatic control. Now it means that as your applications are scaling, as they're failing over, your policy moves with those applications, and you can get the full automation and the full security at the same time. Now, as I said, the single policy in our solution dictates networking. For that, we leverage a lot of the cloud networking constructs like load balancers, transit gateway, things like those to do connectivity. We also have the built-in VPN support to connect your on-prem to the cloud and cloud to cloud. And then we offer all the network security services for doing your ingress security, your east-west security, and your egress security for your cloud workloads. And the key is this is all done through a SaaS-delivered control plane. Now, the control plane is global. It can see across, as I said, it cuts across. Policies are all defined in the control plane. So the control plane can see across workload, across VPCs, accounts, and clouds. So single policy drives all those things. The enforcement, however, happens close to your application. They are delivered as a platform, as a service, Cisco Multicloud Defense gateways. Again, they are fully elastic, but it's very important that the enforcement happens close to your application for two core reasons. One is that the gateways have to be cloud native. They need to be integrated with your cloud, each cloud. And second is also very important. Our customers told us that they do not want the traffic to leave their accounts for enforcement. So traffic should stay in the cloud accounts, and the key should stay in their account. So controller defines the policy, and the enforcement happens locally in each cloud, in each account. So think about it as a giant distributed firewall where the enforcement happens at n places with a single policy on top, and the connectivity is built into the policy itself. So now you get a converged networking and network security solution to give you all the benefits of the cloud. It's a pretty unique architecture. The outcome you get is the security is now simpler to consume. And it kind of sounds counterintuitive, but if security is simpler, your efficacy increases. So if you look at the past, there are a lot of knobs in security and things like those. But in a cloud-like environment, making it simpler for the customers and the users makes the security efficacy actually higher. In terms of security, again, Cisco offers the best-in-class security. We have the best-in-class threat team, and we offer all the advanced network security. It goes beyond your just simple layer 3, layer 4. It goes to layer 7 firewalling. So for the ingress, for example, we can do full decryption. It's a converged solution. The data plane can do a web firewalling, can do IPS-IDS, can do GIP controls, malware, whatnot, right? So same gateway code can do ingress. Now, it can also do egress. Egress, for example, in the cloud is a new threat vector. The applications constantly go and talk out to SaaS, to payment gateways, and whatnot. And that's what we're going to cover the use case of Teradata, how they secure their egress traffic. Now, for egress, we can do a fully qualified domain name filtering. We can also be a forward proxy and can do all the things like DLP, URL filtering, and IPS-IDS, things like that. And for east-west, as I said, we can do all those security functions. However, the key, what we have seen in enterprises is that they use east-west, but they use the cloud tags to identify and define those policies. So it's a converged solution to give you a multi-directional network security across your cloud accounts. And it's two core components, a control plane delivered as SaaS, and the multi-cloud defense gateways delivered as platform as service. From the point of view of the customers, when they ask me, what do I deploy? I say, you deploy nothing. You just go to the control plane, give your cloud credentials. The control plane runs in AWS, and then we start discovering everything in your account. We start giving you visibility by consuming the VPC logs, VNet logs, and whatnot. And then you know your network security posture, you define a policy, and rest all just happens through the control plane. It deploys the multi-cloud defense gateways at right places, does networking, does all the enforcement. So the single policy helps you now achieve the right zero trust in this hybrid multi-cloud world. And we're going to cover now how this security is used by one of our customers, Teradata, to secure all their cloud workloads in AWS. So the outcome, you will see what outcome they got with the solution. So Stacy, over to you.
Thanks, Vishal. Before we get into the use cases of Teradata and how we leverage Cisco, I want to talk just a brief minute about Teradata, our company. I know there's a lot of AI announcements out there today, and Teradata is the same, right? So we're considered a trusted partner for our customers' data, right? For securing that data, and we use a lot of technology to ensure that's secure, and Cisco is one of the products that we use. What we do. So we feel we're the most complete cloud analytics and data platform for AI. A lot of our customers have data stored within Teradata today, and we're going to leverage AI so they can get more analytics out of their data. One other thing to talk about is we want to make sure that our customers solve their most important business challenges today, right? And that means in improving their business outcomes, enrich the customer experience, and integrate data across their business lines. One takeaway from this slide that you can realize is that Teradata is very unique. We have a lot of features within our product today, right, for AI. We have Teradata Vantage Cloud, and I'll talk about that use case because that was our first use case for Cisco, was how do we leverage security, Cisco security for Vantage Cloud as well. And then we leverage ClearScape Analytics for the AI and ML capabilities within the platform. One thing that I'll talk about this is our cloud architecture. This is really, from a Teradata perspective, this is our modern cloud architecture. One thing you will notice here is that all the different sets that make up Teradata itself, from the primary cluster to individual compute clusters as well, along with different types of file store systems, right, from that standpoint. And you'll see we're heavily leveraged within AWS. Now I'll talk about the use cases in general, right? So about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, we were facing some concerns within our existing solution, right? So one thing that we had concerns about was scaling the platform, because Teradata, whenever we want to provision it, we want customers to provision their systems and have access as soon as possible. And we were caught off with a challenge with that, right? And the other thing is that we have hundreds of gateways within our environment, our existing infrastructure, and still today we have a lot more from that standpoint. The other thing is that from a team's perspective, because I manage the operations for networking, I didn't want to have to grow exponentially number of resources to manage the network infrastructure for our team. Okay. From that, the goal was to deliver secure experiences for our customers, to make sure that their systems were provisioned for them in a timely fashion, and it's used for our Vantage Cloud Enterprise and our Cloud Lake products. Man, this is going by fast. So one thing that I already mentioned is about agility. Cloud is about agility, to be honest with you. We want to move fast, but we also want to make sure that our systems are secure, right, from that perspective. And that is one of our main priorities in Teradata, to make sure our systems are secure for our customers. One of the concerns we had is that in provisioning systems, we want to make sure that all the policy updates that Vishal mentioned earlier, that those are pretty quick, right? Because we don't want policy updates to just stand there in a queue waiting to be pushed out to all our environments. And we'll talk about the architecture in a few minutes so you understand that. But one of the issues we had was from the existing services that we were utilizing, we had to trade off whether we provision new customers or wait for policy updates. And as an operations engineer and operations team, you don't want to make those trade-offs at all. You want to be able to support both at the same time. Other thing was about security. One thing about our platform, we want to make sure for any updates or any upgrades that there is no impact to our customers. We don't want any impact to our customers for this solution at all. It should be zero. Okay? You want to talk through this one or me?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. We already mentioned earlier about consistent policy updates, right? So policies change. We want to make sure that anything for our egress use case, that it was only going to trusted sources, right? Only trusted sources were egress out to the internet from that standpoint. And then the other thing is we wanted to be scale our platform and automatically scale that platform based on our customer traffic patterns. In other words, as the network bandwidth grows, we want that traffic bandwidth to grow as well and not have to worry about manual intervention, because that's important for us. It should be hands-off at that point. Other thing is management. Management from an operations team is important for us, right? Because if we're to manage the solution, it shouldn't take multiple resources to manage the platform itself. Tim?
All right, I can take over. So Stacy, I know you talked about Teradata at their scale, how they needed security and the agility at the same time. And I know you were using a solution in the past, and you had some challenges. And then we talked about how Cisco Multicloud Defense solves some of those challenges. But I think we can say always, like, security is better, cheaper, and faster with us. But we'd love to hear from you. How did you architect your security with the Cisco solution, and what kind of outcomes you got with the solution? So it'll be great.
You want to go to the next slide? That's cool. I can talk to it.
Yeah.
So one thing for us important is we had existing customer base, and we didn't want to have to change our architecture. That was really important for us, because that's just extra cycles, and we didn't want to take downtime for this change as well, right? So we had to remove an existing solution and insert Cisco Multicloud Defense in this exact existing customer base, right? So that was important for us, right? So you can see the architecture up here at a high level, from Vantage Cloud to ensuring that all the egress traffic from our VPCs, and AWS VPCs for our customers, go out through the gateway load balancer, out to multi-cloud defense gateways, out to the internet. And the gateways provide the policy enforcement for us, right? So that's what's important for us. Other challenges that we had, as I mentioned, is that we had existing customer base, many in AWS, that we had to move this platform in to support our existing customers without any impact to them. Thanks to my team. So here's some statistics, right? Because it's about, when we started going on this venture, right? So as a team, we evaluated all the concerns that we had or challenges that we had, right? So we had provisioning challenges that we had wanted to overcome. We want to make policy updates pretty instant. And then the upgrades, because all systems need upgrades, but we want to make sure when you're operating at scale, you want to make sure those are pretty quick across your entire ecosystem. So these are some of the outcomes that we tracked, right? So provisioning time for new customers' systems was less than 4 minutes, right? So that's pretty important for us. It reduced it from a 50%. The one thing to be aware of is when I talked about queuing, right? So what comes first, policy updates versus provision new customers. At a certain point in time, you're going to have to delay certain activity so you can get new customers out the door. So that's one thing that we overcame by using Cisco's Multicloud Defense. Other thing was all the policy updates are now in seconds, right? So it's not like I have to wait for something to occur against all of our customer systems. And then upgrades, that's important. So when we go out and upgrade our gateways, it's less than 4 minutes versus hours. So you can imagine if you're going to grow thousands, you don't want to take hours to upgrade all your existing infrastructure because that's just too labor intensive for that. One other thing that I think most organizations are keen on is how do you save cost, right? So we were able to save cost. There's a 35% cost reduction that we did from an infrastructure alone by moving to this platform. And for my team, that was very important. Now we're talking about the road ahead. So I already mentioned Vantage Cloud Enterprise is where we first launched. It's now embedded within our Cloud Lake environment today, which is very important for our Teradata strategy to go to Cloud Lake. It's already in that platform. Next iteration is we're going to implement IPS and IDS, working with our security partners within Teradata to ensure that we enable that feature. The first thing was to take care of our existing use cases, and then we start doing more enabling of features within Cisco Multicloud Defense. Other thing was lowering our total cost of ownership. And then we've done that, and we'll continue to do that, to be honest with you, as a company.
All right, thank you so much, Stacy and Teradata for the partnership. So yeah, so you mentioned about a big reduction on the provisioning and the policy updates and upgrades. So in terms of the business outcome, like what kind of outcome did you see from the business side? Like, okay, now you're faster and cheaper, but cheaper is obvious, but in terms of the agility and all those things, how did it impact your business?
I would say from an operations standpoint, it impacted us a lot, to be honest with you. So in other words, my team is a level 3 organization for engineering and supportability. So that means that we don't have to take a lot of our time in maintaining a platform, and we can push that up the chain as fast as possible, and that's what we successfully were able to do. Great.
And you talked about in the previous slide about your journey ahead. I know when we started a journey with you, you were using the Vantage Enterprise, and then last year you guys announced the Vantage Lake, a SaaS platform, and now Cisco is being used there as well. So maybe you can talk about a little bit how was your journey from with Cisco and AWS, how together all three came together to provide you the best outcome for your customers across these two platforms.
Yeah, one thing is significant is the partnership, right, between teams, from our operations team to our product engineering team and Cisco. So we all came together for this Cloud Lake solution to ensure that not just what we did on Enterprise, that we would actually do that on Cloud Lake. It was a true partnership to ensure that that solution was going to work for that multi-tenant environment for Cloud Lake.
Great. So yeah, so I think now the key takeaways I would say is that yes, the solution we built at Cisco is cloud native. By that we mean it's not retrofit from your on-prem to the cloud. It's built for the cloud. It understood the cloud requirements and understood the cloud things like dynamism, cloud tags, and things like those. And also, as we heard from our customers, that a lot of you are in your hybrid multi-cloud journey. So Cisco solution, Cisco Multicloud Defense, it's available. It's in the industry and the market for a few years now. So it provides you a unified security controls and connectivity across your multi-cloud environment. It's the only solution that converges your cloud networking and cloud security to give you the full zero trust. And networking is so important as well here, just to point out, because in the dynamic environment, networking is a place where the network security can trip. So the convergence of these two is super important. And like we always say, when security meets network, Cisco shines. So this solution is pretty much at the convergence of that. And pretty unique solution offered by Cisco. And as you can see, some of the KPIs, some of the outcomes seen by our customers like Teradata. And also, as you can see, Cisco has a wide security portfolio in the market, going all the way from your zero trust from user to cloud, access side, cloud side, the breach side, firewall. So Cisco has like a broad portfolio, and Cisco Multicloud Defense is part of that portfolio. Actually, we launched a thing called Cloud Suite. So we have a lot more other products like a CNAP from Cisco and Cisco microsegmentation solution and Cisco vulnerability management solution. They all are part of the same Cloud Suite. So you get all those integrations across all the solutions in your hybrid multi-cloud world to get all the visibility, all the microsegmentation, all the segmentation, all together at one place through a single plane, which we call a Cisco Defense Orchestrator. So it brings all together, and that's pretty much is what we offer, the widest portfolio all in a single place. And again, security is so important. We talked about agility, we talked about scale, but security is what you're buying. So as you can see, Cisco has Talos. It's one of the largest commercial threat teams in the world. So this solution uses all those best-in-class security. So you can say it's a best-in-class security, best-in-class ops, and security is basically cheaper, better, and faster with Cisco Multicloud Defense. And it's been a privilege, Stacy and your team, to work with you guys on the partnership, and look forward to more work going forward.
It's coming.
So yeah, pretty much, I think we finished off a bit early, quite a bit early, I would say. So we have time for Q&A, and let's have a discussion. I mean, if you have any questions, if you want to try the product, as you can see here, you can get to the product tour. You can also get a free trial. The product is, I always said, like, it's built for the cloud, so it's cloud top to bottom. So the product is free to use. You can just go to this link, which is on the free trial. And you can use the entire product all by yourself. So it's pretty much self-service for everything. Okay? I guess no more questions. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.